Welcome to Capitalize Your Finances, the podcast that's your ultimate guide to mastering personal finances and unlocking the secrets of entrepreneurship. Each week, we dive into the world of personal finance and business development and have fascinating conversations with industry experts, seasoned entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who share their insights, strategies, and stories to help you get ahead in life. Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur looking to scale your business or someone just starting out on your financial path, this podcast is your go-to resource for inspiration and actionable insights.
Welcome back to Capitalize Your Finances. As always, I'm your host, Christopher A. Poniotu, certified financial planning professional, the Cap and Capitalize. And on today's episode, we have a very special guest, Markus Kaulius. But before we get to Markus, couple little announcements for you. If you have any questions about my book, the masterclass online, you're going to want to head over to capitalizepodcast.com. That's where you can get all of our content as well as past guests as previous previous episodes that we have. Now, the reason why you're going to want to listen to Markus, there's a couple. Number one, the dude is just a stud, an Adonis of a man, if you will. Number two, professionally speaking, the guy founded and sold and exited one of, if not the largest supplement companies in Canada. And so you are going to want to listen into his business brilliance, his investment brilliance, his family brilliance. And so with all of that, Markus, welcome to the show.
Brother, thank you for the beautiful intro. And I got to tell you right away, I find your radio voice very gentle and loving, and I really appreciate it.
Yes.
I don't know, we're going to have a great time here today.
I'm going to have my team snippet exactly what you said, because if I'm ever in the doghouse at home, I am going to just play that on repeat to my infinitely better half. I don't think I've ever been told that I have a lovely radio voice, so I'm going to cherish this moment for about 2 seconds, and then we're just going to dive in, okay? So I first wanted to say I had such a great time at dinner with you last night.
Me as well.
And it's kind of interesting because when I knew you or anyone that comes on our show, I like to treat people to a day with the Cap and Capitalize. And so normally we end with the dinner. And you definitely made me go into the 2-minute warning without timeouts, because I was thinking about it going, oh my gosh, I was going to start out with, I haven't really gotten to know you. Although that is now a lie, because we had a dinner last night for about 3 hours, and it was amazing. But there was a lot that we purposefully did not touch on. And so, before we get into the world of business, maybe even fitness, finance, and all that, tell me a little bit about your childhood.
Okay, let's dive in, eh? Let's get dark.
Yes.
No, I'm kidding, I'm kidding.
Yes.
This is going to be great.
Yes. Oh, and he's Canadian, by the way. But this isn't Canadian hour, but the last couple guests we've had on, we've smuggled over the border of Canada. So I don't know what the theme is, but...
That's fantastic.
Yes.
So I grew up quite poor. We struggled a lot. My first 15 years, they stunk. They really stunk. And I'm so grateful for them because they give me so much drive still every single day. At 7, that's when the divorce happened.
Okay.
And my father was already not really in the picture, but now he was gone. And my mom, to make sure the kids were taken care of, she had to go to work full-time, but also go back to school full-time. And so on that day, I lost both my parents.
Yeah.
I had to grow up real fast. And of course, I hated that for many of my childhood years, but now I'm so grateful for them.
Yes.
And it really helped set a stage for my whole life of recognizing that whatever you're going through that's a challenge in your life, one day you will turn around and go, man, am I glad I went through that.
Yeah.
Because of that, I am who I am today.
Yeah.
And we always have this choice. You can look back on this stuff and let it tie you down, hold you down, slow you down, become a victim. Or you can take it and go, I accept it. And here's what's good from it. Here's how I turned out because of it.
Yes.
And I'm the victor.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I actually love working with people to help them recognize that stuff. Use that stuff as rocket fuel so they can become the best version of themselves.
Yes. So, and again, remind our listeners, so there was you, brother, 2 sisters.
That's
so
right.
4.
And
so
I was a baby.
You were the baby?
Yeah, buddy.
Really? Okay. Well, I knew you were younger, I would say significantly younger than your brother, but what were the age gaps?
So brother's 10 years older, sister's 9 years older, then 3 years older than me.
Okay. So it's not like you were just like some surprise,
No.
Okay. Gotcha. Well, and so I'm kind of curious too, and I was not going to ask this, but you just piqued my interest. Do you think the order of where you were in the pecking order had helped or hindered you in the world of business?
Oh, I'm going to go with helped for sure.
How?
First of all, what happened and how each of the kids dealt with the divorce was very different.
Okay.
Because of their age and what they had experienced. So one of the funniest things, when my brother and I started to get to know each other for the first time, which was 2 years ago.
Yes.
Like legit, we just had no relationship. I would say things about my childhood. Like there was this one time I was speaking about, oh, I grew up really poor. And my brother's like, what are you talking about? No, we didn't. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And what we didn't realize is he was 15. He was 17 when the divorce happened. I was 7. He had 17 years of having parents. Not that they were totally different, but they were together.
Right.
He got to see years of love. I never saw any years of love with them. And then when he was 18, at the latest 19, he knocked up his girlfriend and he moved out.
Oh.
So he was gone. And so I was like, bro, let me tell you what it was like.
Yeah.
He had no idea what we were going. Like all of my clothes growing up were my sister's hand-me-downs. And I was actually just thinking about this today, which is so funny because we were talking about shoes last night.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I love having a lot of shoes is I had no shoes. There was this one pair of shoes I'll never forget. I was 8 years old. I was a size 9. And these shoes were so cheap, we had to buy them for me. And they were size 11. And I was wearing size 11 shoes. And I was tripping a ton, but I was like, hey, they're new shoes. I don't know if I've had new shoes before.
Yeah.
So I just found that so funny thinking back on that. Like that's the level of poverty we were dealing with.
Yeah. Well, and it as you were saying that too, I mean, it makes total sense to me that you and your brother have, in the most literal sense, lived 2 totally different lives with that age gap.
Yeah.
And for you at 7, because most people don't have memory of their childhood until they're, 3 or 4? Like, occasionally, I remember my counselor was saying he met someone that remembered at 2, but not for good reasons. But nonetheless, they had memory at 2. So really for you, I mean, it's a fraction of your life that you even saw what a successful relationship looked like.
Oh, yeah, I would actually say I never saw it. Like my parents in my lifetime were never in love.
Yeah.
So that right there screwed me up for a lot of years. And I don't blame them for that. Like it actually worked out great for me because
you turned out okay.
Yeah, thank you. Because of what I saw, I saw that as a model of what not to do.
Yes.
So because of that, like I'm obsessed with my wife. And I don't ever want her to feel any of the things I saw my mom feel. And I want my kids to never experience the things that I felt in those years. And I don't mean like, oh, yeah, so I'm going to shower them with money and money will... No. Like, I'm there for them. Yeah. And like, priority 1 is my family. The business stuff is just bonus.
Yeah. Well, and we had a lengthy conversation about that last night, which, that one we're going to keep between us, right? but one thing I wanted to talk about is when we first spoke and got to know each other, and we're talking, 10 minutes on the phone, we have a commonality in the fact that, we don't have any relation with our fathers. And so, due to poor choices. And I wanted to ask if you could talk about that situation a little bit more and what were the greatest traits that you gained from observing what not to do as a father.
Yeah, really good. So I want to start by just saying this. As much as I wish I had a better relationship with my father, I'm in a place now where I've beyond fully forgiven him. I've come to a place where I really love and respect and appreciate my father because I am the man who I am today because of what I got to experience.
Sure.
And there was many things that he did, including... And this is where it's like when you're really searching for something to appreciate out of your parents, he stopped the curse of abuse. You know how hard that is? That's really hard for people to do. My dad got beaten up bad. Like there's a book about how bad it was. And he stopped that. So I'm so grateful for that. But beyond that, I saw what happened with my mom and poverty, like her always constantly thinking about, stressing about, crying about finances. So I learned so much about finances because of that. I learned so much about work at that because I was staring at that going, oh, I can never have that as my life.
Right.
I will change that. I will be the one that changes my family's legacy away from that. But also being there for my kids, like understanding what it means to be a father. And to be a father where I'm going to raise amazing children, amazing leaders for tomorrow through love and compassion and mercy, and teach them all the things I wish I got taught and spend time with them the way I wish I got spent time with.
Sure.
I freaking love that stuff, man. I'm so grateful for that. And my wife, like I'm obsessed with my wife, and that stuff comes first. And one of the key things that I truly believe that a lot of people are missing when they have their business, they go, yeah, well, I'm doing the business for my family. And they use that to justify not spending time with them, spending extra time in the office and all these things. And by the way, guys, I know many of you are going, hey, careful.
Yeah.
Careful, you're talking about me right now.
Yeah.
I have so much mercy for you because this is what we were taught as young men. Just put in more hours. Do everything you can. You're doing it for your family. Can I just tell you how that works out for the majority of people?
Yeah, not well.
Not well. And the same thing happens every time. The wife goes, I'm out of here. This is bull crap.
Yeah.
And the man's going, but I did it all for my family. It's like, okay, well, what is that worth?
Yeah.
And who is that valuable to? The family just wants you there. And now, oh, but Marcus, somebody's got to pay the mortgage. I hear you. But what if we just got it wrong from the beginning? And the more time you spend with your family and show them love and fill up your bucket, you get to go to work with more energy and more love and more passion for life. That can turn into success.
Yes.
In ways you can't even imagine. Now look at what happened. I have a phenomenal family life, dynamic, health, and then I get to go to work and I get to kill it at work.
Yes.
So what if this is the way it's supposed to be and not this way where we thought it was?
Right. Well, and that actually is a perfect dovetail into the fitness world. So what got you into fitness?
So growing up without my mom and dad around much, I had to figure out food for myself.
Okay.
And I think you're going to appreciate this being a fitness guy.
Yes.
My memories of what I was eating twice a day, every day, I would eat a stack of 4 Eggo waffles, coated in butter, coated in syrup. And I'm telling you, the syrup, you know those nice Aunt Jemima bottles? And I know it's not Aunt Jemima anymore, but I'm calling it Aunt Jemima.
Yeah, we're bringing her back.
We're bringing her back. It would be about 1/8 of the bottle each time.
Man.
It's unbelievable.
That's what we call the American dream.
Oh, right?
Yes.
I guess I didn't understand what diabetes were.
Yeah.
And I would have that all the time.
Yeah.
And I thought that, I didn't know about nutrition. So when I hit my final Lithuanian growth spurt, I was 6'4", 120 pounds.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And you know what's even worse? I appreciate the laughter, by the way. What's even worse is somehow I still had a chubby stomach. Like, how does that even work? Like, you see every one of my ribs, but there were no abs.
Got it.
It was as bad as it could have been. So, of course, zero confidence, zero self-worth. And then I believed everything that was said about me. Like, the bullies loved it, man. I was a huge target. And I know you'll be surprised. The girls didn't love that look.
Yeah.
So,
I can imagine.
Yeah. So I started working out, and oh my goodness, I transformed overnight. I loved it. And I'm not talking physically, man. I'm up like 12 pounds since it. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But mentally, I loved who I was. Like, I got self-confidence, self-worth. I started making jokes. I started making jokes about myself, and boom, bullies off the back. Girls noticing, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
But the body hasn't even changed, and it really helped me understand it's not about the body. The body is a side effect.
Yeah.
It's what you can do for your own confidence and building some integrity and being a man who says he's going to do what he does.
Yeah.
Building confidence through these things, and it just unlocked so many things in my mind.
Was there a specific type of fitness that got you, like bodybuilding, CrossFit, or was it just you got moving? What was it?
First of all, I'm old, man. CrossFit wasn't around for 20 more years.
I know. I know. And you're not old, you're vintage. That's what we say.
I am so happy with my age. So
Yes.
I'm good.
Yeah.
And I got about 75 to 80 more years on this planet.
Minimum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've got a lot of good years left.
Yes, good.
No, it was just really getting moving. Yeah, I was picking up weight. So I
Okay.
mean, if you want to call it bodybuilder lifestyle, sure. But
Yeah.
like I was not benching 225, man. I was happy with that one plate per side and just getting things moving. And I think people don't put enough emphasis on that in life. Like, well, you know, if I'm not going to be doing it 10 times a week, then it's not. And it's like, what? Just get your body moving. You will transform so quick and appreciate it for what it is.
Yeah. Well, and then people think that, so you mentioned like the one plate on either side. I remember when I first started, I could barely like confidently bench the bar. And we're talking like arched back, you know, I mean, forget any form, you know, like you're at that point, your goal is to pop a disc out, just going from A to B. But I'll tell you, going back to that, some of those experiences were the best experiences in fitness because everyone plateaus when it comes to the strength side of things. I mean, even if you're drugged to the nines, like you're going to hit that wall. And newbie gains are the best thing in the world. They're the best. I did want to ask randomly because I remember, I think it was the first or second time we briefly spoke because you're a good looking dude, right? But you said you got, did you get kicked in the face by a horse?
That's right.
Yeah. So can you briefly tell us, like, because you're a really smart guy, you know that's not an ideal place to be is behind a Clydesdale. Like briefly, what happened there?
Sure.
I mean, obviously you got kicked in the face by a horse.
Sure.
Give us the play-by-play.
Yeah, you got it. Let me start by saying this is one of the greatest moments in my entire life. I'm not even lying. I'm so grateful for this moment.
Okay.
So I'm 13 years old, and we're on this ranch, and they asked us, hey, would you like to come round up the horses? Okay. And yeah, of course. And they point at this one and they go, be careful with that one. It's a stud. It's not broken yet. So, and I'm like, well, I'm a stud, so I'm going after that one. And listen, I know you don't go near the back of a horse. I know that.
Yeah.
So as I'm approaching the back of this guy's horse, no. Hold on. So I'm going after his face.
Yeah.
And this is one of those, like, this was meant to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I go near his face and I saw him bolt. Like he was gone.
Yeah.
And now, of course, I'm concussed in a moment, so my timeline might not be perfect.
Okay.
But I swear, I turn around, and then I immediately hear this. I turn back around, and of course, all the other horses were holding their camera phones watching.
Yes.
And then, bam, just right in the chops. And I'm out. Shocker. I'm out. I couldn't take a punch that well. When I came to, I was like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
And I grab my face and I look at my hand and it's like chiclets and blood.
Wow.
And I was like, oh no, this is not good. And I was like, put my hand over it like I'm trying to hold it all in.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that'll help.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'll never forget, actually. I get up and I'm running over, and I'm a real prankster at that point. And I'm like, I got kicked in the face by a horse. And they're starting laughing, and they're like, what? And I'm like, why are you laughing? Like, and I show them, and there's the blood just coming out everywhere.
Oh my God.
Then I remember this one horse hand, and she just went pale. She was like, oh. So why this is one of the best moments of my life, though, I know I'm on borrowed time from that moment.
Yeah.
Legit.
Yeah.
Like, do you know how many places? So it's over 2,000 pounds of pressure that I took to the chin.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how many places around your chin you can handle 2,000 pounds of pressure? There's very few.
Yeah.
If I took that in the throat, if I took it in the nose, if I took it in the cheek, if I took it in the chest, gone. Like, there's no chance. Yeah. At the best, I got a mangled face. Then I've spent hundreds of hours in a dentist chair.
Yeah.
Hundreds. I've had almost every oral surgery you can imagine. That sounds so messed up. I'm so grateful for that. It gives me the time to pull aside and go, man, I shouldn't be here. And now I'm super happy with my smile. I think I got a great smile.
You got a great smile.
Thanks, brother.
Award-winning.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And, I'm so grateful for that. And, some of these teeth are somewhat real. And
okay. Yeah.
But, again, it's just, you can turn anything into gratitude to go, think of how much worse it could have been.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, maybe in that moment, probably not, because that's like the jackpot of misery.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with business or finance. But I was like, I had to ask if that was real, because I remember thinking, did he really? I told my wife, I was like, I could have sworn Marcus said he got kicked in the face by a horse. And then I showed her a picture and she's like, there's no way. I mean, he's such a good looking dude. Well, I want to talk about business though. I want to get into
Hold on one second. Can I give you one more thing?
Yeah, okay.
I forgot. There was one more key thing that, again, why I'm so grateful. So we're sitting in the barn waiting for the ambulance. And remember, I'm 13. No girl has ever looked at me. And there's a 16, 17-year-old cowgirl farmhand. And real cute. And now, up until this moment, I was a crybaby. I'm not. I was so, and I hated myself for it. Now, I'm not judging other people for crying. I didn't like myself for crying.
Oh, got it.
And I would cry over everything. Yeah. Now, here, you could argue is the most, I had a good reason for
you
crying.
Earned the right at that point.
I earned the right.
Yeah.
And I actually didn't cry. For whatever reason, this was the time I chose to become a man. And I remember she's looking down at me while I'm holding my teeth and blood in, and she goes, I can't believe how brave you are. You just got kicked in the face by a horse, and you didn't cry. And boom, I'm like, did I just become a man? High fives, everybody? High five. Wait, my dude.
Yeah.
So that was a really special turning point in my life.
Yeah. Well, and I will say, I'm going to try to hold it together throughout the remainder of this interview, but just like picturing that, I mean, you know what you should have done? You should have started boxing, and you should have gotten a lotto ticket at that point, right? Because you really did. You hit the lottery.
Yeah,
okay?
Absolutely.
Now, from the business side of things, it's one thing to have a passion for fitness or anything, but it's a whole nother world to take that passion and turn it into a profession.
Yeah.
And so, you blended the two together with Magnum, and it was nutraceuticals, if I say that correctly.
Yeah.
Okay. So first, talk to us about what inspired you to start that supplement company.
Oh, I love it. Thank you. So I'm going to give you just a quick backstory here. Because my first real business was selling supplements in my bedroom.
Okay.
And I was
a drug dealer.
I was a healthy drug dealer for a few years there. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And I was in university, and I love supplementation. I knew I was going to be the natural guy, so I had to learn about supplements because I'm like, but I want to look like I'm jacked up on juice, but I don't want to touch any juice.
Yeah.
So I'm learning supplements, taking all these things. And so pretty quick, people were like, you're the supplement guy. I have some questions for you. And everybody knew I was the supplement guy.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, why am I not selling them supplements? And I really felt like God put this business plan in my head, and boom, I invested every penny I had. On a Wednesday, I was making phone calls to try and make this thing happen. Thursday, I had $10,000 of supplements in my bedroom. Friday, my second shipment arrived. I've got 15 grand of supplements in my bedroom. And on Saturday, I had my first sale. And I was selling out of my bedroom for years. And I loved it. It was truly a healthy drug dealer lifestyle. I had a pager. I had guys coming over at all hours, bringing buddies. Is it okay if I bring a buddy? I'd give them a taste of something for free and then be like, all right, if you like that, you come back to me.
Right.
Like I must have looked at a drug dealer model and been like, that's the model right there.
It's quite the model.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moved into my supplement store, which turned into 3 supplement stores. But I'm looking at it, I'm struggling with the stuff that I sold because I didn't love it. There was nothing I could really
How old were you at this point?
I'm 19, 20 years old.
So that's when you started?
18, 19 out of my bedroom.
Okay.
19, 20 in my store.
Okay.
And then I realized, and I've always been a guy who likes to sell with integrity. I'm like, I need to find the best.
And sell drugs.
And sell drugs, obviously.
Obviously.
Sell drugs with integrity.
Yeah.
I'll be that guy.
Was that your mission statement? That's great.
But I like to look you in the eye and say, hey, here's what's going to happen. And we're in this together. I don't want to sell it to you and be like, if it doesn't work, just screw off. No. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But the supplements I was selling, there was lots that couldn't stand up to my claims. And I really felt God go, you're going to do it yourself. And I was like, yes. And legit, that was January 17th, 2005, and that was the day I started Magnum.
January 5th, 2005. Okay. Oh, yeah. So, because for you were in the heart of like when bodybuilding.com was just exploding too.
I don't even know if that was a thing
yet
in 2005. I mean, it probably was. Oh, no, it was probably starting to explode.
It was maybe just starting.
Yeah.
Because really, like, I remember I was member 84.
What?
And yeah.
Dude, that's incredible.
Yes. And I remember because I was like, bodybuilding.com, you go online and it's kind of gone downhill, right? Due to like turnover and all that. But back in the day, I mean, that was like the mecca of online
It
supplementation.
absolutely was, yes.
I mean, if you were on it and then people would call you and say, like this is maybe not a drug, but like Anavar Adam or, like Barbell Ben, calling to make sure you got your supplements. And then they would just shower you with free samples all the time. So part of it, I mean, how unique was it that God placed you in that industry with the timing?
Oh, yeah.
Because, like today, not saying it wasn't competitive back then, but I mean, it's night and day. I mean, you know how many supplement companies there are out there? I mean, it's wild.
Oh, it's wild. But here's the craziest part. I remember when I started that company, I remember going, this is such a saturated market right now.
Back then?
Back then.
Okay,
See, this is what happens. And what the lesson is here, it's never too saturated. We always just use that as an excuse. And that excuse crossed my mind many times. There's too many brands right now. This is 2005.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, if only I had started it 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. That you'll always say those things if you're starting a business. Oh, if only. It doesn't matter. Just start it now.
Yeah.
Just start it now. Because look at what happened after 19 years. I got to walk away from it in a crazy busy industry, but Magnum still has a phenomenal name. And we were growing every single year, year over year, except COVID.
Yeah.
But
it was a blip.
yeah, but it was amazing. And yeah, it's crazy right now, but I know new companies pop up and they start doing crazy good things every single day.
How long was it until you hired your first employee?
Oh, maybe it was year 3. And I'll tell you a quick funny story about that.
Okay.
It was year 2 that I got my first international contract. So I started selling into Russia, which is just insane.
Okay.
And this is way back when it was allowed to.
Yeah.
We were allowed to deal with Russia. Okay. Please don't audit me. And I remember
They could audit you now. You're gone. So there's nothing to audit. But anyway, keep going. Yeah.
I remember when they called, I was like, if I didn't have integrity, I was literally like just seconds away from being like, Mr. Kaulius' office, please hold. I'm like, there's this big distributor in Russia calling. Is it embarrassing that I'm answering the phone? But I'm like, I'm just going to own it. Hey, what's up? This is Markus.
Yeah.
And actually, I think it was because of bodybuilding.com that they found out about me.
Really?
That's right. I totally remember that. And then I actually ended up doing really well with the DeLucas were the guys who started bodybuilding.com, the DeLuca brothers.
Yes.
And they were great dudes. And I had a good relationship with them. And I started doing well on bodybuilding.com, way better than I should have as small of a brand as I was. And it was because of that Russia actually started doing really well. And these other countries started to contact me because they're like, well, if bodybuilding.com is doing well with you, you're a big deal. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a big deal.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Let's go with that.
Yeah. Well, so interesting. So you were a one-man shop until 3 years in. So you were selling internationally. Yeah. Now, obviously, this is not out of the bedroom still.
So my offices, yes, were out of my bedroom.
Get out of town.
Yeah. But I had stock in a warehouse.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Got that. And so how long was, so you hire your first employee 3 years in, and at this point, were you in other facilities, right? Like selling like out of that, or was this all online at this point?
Oh my goodness, no. I mean, online was such a small part. Like the internet, this is a brand new thing. It was still legit, like dial-up internet.
Yeah, yeah.
So, no, I was in stores big time. Like, it was so much fun doing that, like selling into Quebec and Winnipeg and into Ontario. It was just, I was like, what? I'm like a businessman now. It was so cool.
Yeah, but then so your first employee, I'm just kind of curious, what was that point when you got to that point, you're going, okay, I need this person for X, because you can't do it forever, especially your line of work.
Yeah. You know, now that I'm thinking back on it, calling him an employee is kind of doing him a discredit. It was Bert, and he ended up becoming a partial business partner with me.
Awesome.
And it was just this opportunity. Like, he had been in the industry already so long, and he was such a studly, awesome dude. And I remember talking to him at a trade show for the first time, and I'm like, and he was a big, jacked up dude, and I'm like, it's Bert. And he comes over and he goes, hey, man, I just want to tell you how awesome it is what you're doing with your brand. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
And then it just started like a friendship. And then one day when he was thinking, or he left his current position, I was like, hey, what if he came to work with me?
Yeah.
And it was actually funny because then I was like, oh, I better get an office because I don't think my wife wants him coming over to our house.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even ask that. So you meet your wife, you're married, but you're still working out of the bedroom, basically.
Correct. Well, Magnum started 4 months after I married her.
Magnum started 4 months after. Okay.
Yes, it was a wedding gift that God gave us.
Yes, got it. Yeah. So, okay. So this was also partial out of necessity because, it's like separating church and state.
Yeah.
You kind of want to separate, right, family life from professional.
Yeah.
And that was just God's way of saying, like, you need to do this right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, got it. Okay. And so for you, not fast forwarding like too far, but I'm going to. So I remember when you were telling me when you sold your company, and because this was rather recent.
Yeah.
Talk to us about what that felt like.
Awesome. I want to dive into this. I want to give you one last pinpoint, though, that I know you'll find interesting. I didn't take a salary at Magnum for the first 5 years.
Okay.
5 years.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget looking, and we just lived on a shoestring budget. And remember, I grew up poor, so I knew how to live poor. And praise God, so did Brooke. And I knew that this was the woman for me when she was like, no, I don't mind living like this.
Yeah.
And I just kind of said to her, I'm confident one day I will give us a good living. Thank goodness God allowed me to fill that promise.
Yes.
But 5 years without a salary because I knew that the business needed that money back.
Okay.
And just keep going, turn it. So yes, I sell last April.
Okay.
Papers are signed. Oh, it was amazing. I mean, first of all, I got to say, God really called me to sell it. He told me, like, this is what you have to do. And I think that's so important that people recognize a calling. If you're not comfortable saying God, you use what words you want to use. I was called by God to sell.
When did that feeling start to come about?
So the year before.
So 2022.
Almost a full year before. Actually, sorry, it was almost to the day a year before.
Okay.
In prayer, God said a new chapter in your life is about to start. And it was awesome. Like I've almost never felt that strong of a calling. And I just waited and prayed for the next couple of weeks of what to do. And within about 10 days, he had me start writing my book. And he wrote that book through me. It was such an awesome experience. And so now I've kind of switched to a part-time situation at Magnum. And I told the staff, I'm like, hey, don't worry. I'm just going to be writing upstairs. But, for these 2 days a week, I'm not here for Magnum.
Because how many people did you have at that point? Because I think it got up to 20.
About 29, 28, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
And then I'm getting close to the end of writing the book, which was like 6 or 7 months later.
Okay.
And then I'm praying, and I'm like, God, I don't know what you want me to do next. And then it was like, boom, now you're going to sell your company. What? And legit, he said, I'm going to send somebody, and you will get this number. And I got that exact number.
Yeah.
And it was just an awesome process. So much learning. I love it because I know everything I went through is stuff that I can help others go through. Right. I know all the points where it will break people. And there are a lot of points. So many entrepreneurs, we tie our identity to our business. And when you break that, you start to go, well, if I don't have this business, who the heck am I? And there's this weird thing where we think, well, as long as I have these millions of dollars, then it doesn't matter. I'll figure it out. It still breaks people. I've seen it so many times. In fact, God has now put me in a position to talk to tons of people who have exited and not done so well with it. And there was this really special moment. So when you ask how it feels, there was this special moment. It was about 2 months, 2.5 months in, where I now had to give up my office to the new owner.
So 2.5 months in, because you, just for our listeners, because you stayed on for 6 months kind of to transition.
Right. Yes.
So it was 2 months after the dotted line was signed.
You got it.
Okay, all right.
So 2 months after April, I'm now having to pack up my office and move to the tiny office next door to the big boy office. Yes. And by the way,
the honey bucket office.
That's right.
Yes.
I built these offices. I built this office for me. It was grand. It had a conference table. It had everything you could dream. Big, beautiful windows all along the walls. So there's beautiful natural light.
Yeah.
And then you go into the closet now. And I remember being there on a Saturday, packing things up, and I just go, oh, this is a special moment. One, this is a moment that will break a lot of people because you're going, what have I done? I'm giving up my big office. I felt so much peace because I was like, I can't move on until I get through this.
Yeah.
And I also felt God say, there will be men and women who need you to be strong right now, to learn right now, so you can help them through this in the future. And so it was a really special, I was whistling away as I worked, and I moved into that tiny, dark little office for 4 more months, and then the rest is history.
The rest is history.
Capitalizers, this episode is sponsored by the best-selling book, Capitalize Your Finances, the how-to framework that takes you from compoundingly clueless to monetarily magnificent. Regardless of where you're at in your financial life, whether you're just beginning to express interest and commitment to your personal finances, at the pinnacle of your career, winding down into retirement, or thinking about your legacy for future generations, this book walks you through every step of the way so you can succeed on your terms and with your own values and passions guiding you. After reading this book, you will officially have Christopher A. Panayotou, the Cap in Capitalize, in your back pocket, guiding you in detail through every step of the way so that you can take charge of your finances, not the other way around. Head on over to Amazon.com today and start capitalizing your finances to the fullest with this incredible book, Capitalize Your Finances, the how-to financial framework that takes you from compoundingly clueless to monetarily magnificent. And now, back to the episode.
Well, and it's interesting because a lot of people, men and women that start businesses, first off, people that have not started a business, it's a lot easier said than done what you just said. Because even someone as whistling away as you, I'm sure there were those moments. Because when you start a business, it really is like having a child in a way.
Sure.
But unlike a child that drains your finances, it builds your finances.
Ideally.
And knock on wood, in theory. And so when people say, oh, you've sold your business or you've cashed out or you've had a huge exit, like in your case, they just assume, well, now you've got all this money, it's all good. But you really are, in a way, closing a chapter in your life, and it's kind of like closing a chapter in your children's life when they're no longer a child, right?
Yeah.
Now they're in your case a teenager.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother slew of that's another episode that we can get into. But for you, what would you say to those that are looking to sell their business that are scared of that? Because it is a big deal. I know you're saying all of this right now. And it's a lot easier, not just for you, but in anyone's circumstance, to look back and go, oh, I'm glad I did this. I shouldn't have done that, etc. What are the best pieces of advice you can give people to not have that feeling of defeat and isolation and regret and emptiness when they sell their business?
Oh, what a great question. My number one piece of advice is start surrounding yourself by people you respect who you can start developing a community around. So many entrepreneurs live in a silo. And, oh, no, what are you talking about? I got my buddies from high school. And it's like, do you, though? Like, are they, like, is that really the kind of relationships? And if you end up with a bunch of millions or however many dollars, do you think that's going to draw you closer or further away from those high school buddies? For most of us, I won't speak for everybody, for most of us, that's not even that's a non-starter.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
Not even close. So I was so fortunate. I had people in my life who were big businessmen and big thinkers. And that's so valuable because now when you're having these conversations and maybe, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing or whatever, you're actually talking to somebody who's also gone through it. And that's one of the things why I'm so excited about this next chapter in my life. I know God's putting a whole bunch of people into my life where they're like, I'm going through this right now.
Yeah.
I had a conversation less than a month ago with a guy who had sold his company and had signed a long contract to stay on. And
How long are we talking?
I think it was a 2-year.
Okay. Yeah.
Depending on who you are,
Yes.
I would be losing my mind. But here's the thing. I've actually never met any entrepreneur who sold their business and had a 2-year contract that made it the full 2 years. You don't understand how long that is.
Yeah.
When you have worked for however many years for yourself. You answer to no one.
Yeah.
And now you're answering to someone who is doing it differently, who's doing it worse than you. And when I say worse, if it's different, it's worse.
Yeah.
Most people, I don't
Yes.
care if it's going better. They're like, well, I don't like it. It's
Because it's not you.
not me.
Yeah.
So now, and you want to be under their employee for 2 years? So this is my buddy. I think he was 4 months or 6 months into it. And you could just see his life was almost fully drained out of his eyes.
Oh, my God.
And we're having this conversation. He's like, but you don't understand. I have to stick around because it's worth X amount of millions of dollars. And so I just had this conversation with him about like, okay, tell me what it would be like, just hypothetically, if you left right now. And you could see the life coming back. Oh, my goodness, can you imagine? Oh, man, I'd be better to my wife and to my kids, and I'd have more energy. I'd be working out. I'd have my days back. I'd have this. I'd have that. And it was just some questions. And it was less than a month later, he was out.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not saying I pushed him towards it. I just asked him some questions because just people need someone in their corner to go, okay, that's great. 18 months, you've got a bunch more million.
Yeah.
Will you make it? Like, and I don't mean that's like, oh, fine, I'll just figure out a way to make it. It's like, how is it going in your relationship with your wife right now, and your kids? Yeah. And these things take such a massive toll. And you have to, there's a value to that.
Yes.
Like, what if in 18 months, your family can't handle it anymore?
Yeah.
So what number is that? How much is your family worth?
Yes.
So your family's gone, but you have X amount of million. Good deal?
Yeah, you're broke.
Oh, no. And unfortunately, I talked to so many men, and I heard it beautifully said, where you end up with a wallet full of money and a house full of strangers.
Yeah, that's painful.
Yeah.
That's super painful. Well, and you know what you need to tell these people going forward? Dude, you look like you just got kicked in the face by a horse. That's got to be your go-to for the rest of your life.
So true. And they're going to say thank you.
Well, so, I'm curious, and then we're going to start transitioning into the investment part of the episode because I want to pick your brain at some of this. But you've really been self-taught this entire time, up as far as like growing the business. Obviously, when you start a business out of your bedroom, that's about as self-taught as you get. But like from the business standpoint, along the way, were there obviously you talked about, was it Bert?
Yeah.
Okay. So Bert, that was a key, shout out Bert, whoever, I know you have a last name, but Bert was integral. And probably the next employee was integral. All of the employees were integral, but from outside counsel, were there people? I know you said you've had a relationship with Tony Robbins and all of that. Was it Tony? Was it even fast forward? Did you negotiate the sale of the business on your own? Did you have a merger and acquisition team? Like, who were the key players throughout and to the very end of your business?
I love this question. So Tony was probably number one human being around me.
Yeah.
Just giving me so many tips on how to change my perspective. And my number one piece of advice for people, look into this mindset and perspective stuff. So one of the things I actually love talking about is I'm not here ever to say, oh, I'm just an unbelievable marketer. I'm an unbelievable salesman. I'm the best at this or best at that. What I'm good at is mindset stuff. And in my opinion, and I think I've got good backing to this, is that if you learn this mindset stuff, I believe absolutely anybody can be ultra successful. I'm the perfect example because I don't think I had a leg up in any way. Yeah. And now it's not even just like, oh, look at the success, look at the dollars. Forget that stuff. Look at the fulfillment. Look at the joy I have in my life. Look at my relationships. And I don't say that, I'm sorry if that comes off egotistical. It's more of like, I know most people don't have these things.
Yeah.
And don't even know where to start. Let me tell you, start with the perspective stuff. Because at any point you can look at any event in your life as like, can you believe this happened to me? Or, can you believe this happened to me?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
How many people can say, I got kicked in the face by a horse? It's one of the best things that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
And that's legit. That's not like, I guess if I have to find a silver lining, this is it.
Yeah.
Man, I'm so grateful for that moment.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for all the crazy, crappy stuff that I had to go through because it made me stronger. If you want to get into the next grade, you have to go through some tests. If you're going to skip out on the test, you will be held back another year because you haven't learned the lessons yet.
Yeah. Well, I will say, and I promise I'll drop the horse thing, but if you haven't figured out a way to copyright that, like you need T-shirts with like I've been kicked in the face by a horse, and then you're just smiling in it, like that's how the book and all that, which we're gonna get into in a moment in your brand. I would say that's how it's going to catapult, because very few people have had that, and they live to tell the tale. But regarding and again, regarding the business sale, did you negotiate that all on your own?
Yes and no. I mean, I have some great people in my life who are my business associates.
Okay.
We would talk things through. We used a broker. I don't even know if we talked any numbers with them because
you kind of already knew.
Yeah, and yes, let's just leave it at that.
That's okay. Yep.
But yeah, having some business people around just to talk certain things through. But I was pretty confident, and again, I said it. God gave me a number.
Well, and you knew your business too. That's another big thing. And the only reason why I was prying to that is we have a lot of people that are entrepreneurially driven. And entrepreneurs, I think the biggest curse that they have is they think they have to go and do everything on their own. Yeah. And that is far from the truth. You know this when we were speaking at dinner. I joke that I've become a master at outsourcing. Like I only do a couple things really, really great, and then I outsource everything else. So I remember when we were talking, this was last year when we first got to know each other, you also recently sold, I believe it was some of your real estate, and it got me thinking, what came first to you, the learning of running the business or knowing that investing is important?
Oh, wow. What a beautiful question. The business. I knew the business had to come first. Okay. I knew it had to be a source of revenue. And I kept my mind open, my eyes open to opportunities. And so it wasn't, honestly, it happened so fast that we're having to grow. And I was like, I'm tired of paying other people those lease payments. I want to buy. And actually, I love that we're opening up into this story. It's one of my favorite stories. This is such an entrepreneurial story of not taking no for an answer. I felt this is time I'm going to own a building, and I want to be part of real estate. So I want in, and we had so outgrown this last building. Our numbers were growing 20 to 50% every year. Yeah. And I'm like, we can handle this. And the mortgage payment's going to be slightly above what our lease payment would be.
But you own it.
But I'll own it.
Yeah.
And so I went to my bank, and they were like, yeah, no. Like 3-5 years more, and we'll loan it to you. That's where most people stop. I was like, yeah, no, that's not going to work for me. So I went to 5 more banks, and they all said no. And I went to 5 more banks, and they all said no. It was about the 19th bank that said yes. And I was like, what a freaking story. Don't take the no. And because of that, now, it just so happens I went back to my original bank, and I was like, we're out. And they're like, wait, what do you mean? You're leaving? Someone gave it? Okay, give me the numbers. Do you have a sheet? And then they beat it. Okay. And now, it's a quite dirtbaggy thing, but this is how banks work, people. Now he said, well, now the cost of you leaving is going to cost us too much. So it actually gives me a different negotiation. I'm like, that's kind of gross, but okay.
Yeah. I mean, you are dealing drugs. So
exactly.
Yeah, so like just keep with the theme.
So to give you an idea, because I put in all that work and I got my first building, which we stayed for less than 5 years before we had to buy the next building.
Did you keep the other one?
I kept it for a short period of time until somebody showed up and gave me an obscene number.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Obscene. What's my memory of it?
$5 over asking.
Yeah, $5.50, $5.50 in fact. Now that's Canadian dollars, so that's about 12 cents for you guys.
That's right.
But no, it was about $9 million more.
Okay, yeah.
Had I just accepted what the first bank said, legit, I would have still been in a lease instead of making that $9 million.
Yeah.
Isn't that friggin' nuts?
Well, and I'm kind of curious. Yeah, it is nuts. So, and then I'm curious, not diving too personal, but here we are. So, so you take that, and then did you just basically roll it in and just pay off the loan at that point to free up all the cash flow of the new building?
Well, actually, I had already bought the new building. We bought it as land.
Oh, so you built?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We actually built.
But you didn't finance it?
We had to come up with $2 million or something in cash.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
But we were able to.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm again, going back to my backstory, I grew up poor, so I had no problem. Like, even though, now we're, 10, 11 years in, I was still like taking, I don't know, $50,000 a year or something like that. Like, It was crazy. We're doing tens of millions of dollars, but I'm like, but imagine what I could do if I leave the money in. And that was the answer. Like, look, I was able to invest and get a building.
Right.
And those were kind of tougher conversations with my wife, who was so understanding. She's like, wait, we're still not taking money out?
Yeah.
Like, and she's not the type of person, like, even now we have money, she still won't buy the expensive purses or anything, which I love about her so much.
Yes.
But, back then she's like, why are we still living so tight? I'm like, I have just a few more years. I've got this vision. And that's what happened. And so we owned 2 buildings, and it was crazier and crazier.
Now, did you or did the business own the buildings?
I had a separate holdings company.
Good for you. Got it. Yes. Take note, people.
Yeah.
Right. That's real estate like 501 for you newbies in it. Okay. So first off, we got to plug your book. I don't want to forget that. So that book is coming out very, very soon. First off, when is it coming out, or is there an official date yet?
So pre-orders April 1st.
Okay.
Ish.
April 1st-ish. Of 2024.
2024.
Okay.
And then first couple weeks of July, we haven't set the exact date, but first couple weeks of July will be the big launch. And by the way, if you pre-order the book, go to Play. I shouldn't skip ahead here. It's called Play a Bigger Game.
Yeah.
And what I give you is everything that I learned along the way for all my mindset tips, my perspective shifts, but way more importantly, you have to put it into action. So I've got challenges constantly. Here's the thing about our world right now. We're such a consumeristic society. We just think we're going to consume, take it all in, and shocker, our lives don't change. If you don't take action, and there's this beautiful equation, everybody, write this down. K, which is knowledge, minus A, which is action, equals 0. If you don't take action, you can gather all the knowledge on the planet. Imagine reading every book that ever existed. But you did nothing with it, nothing will change in your life. That's a crazy thought. In fact, things will get much worse because you'll know what you should be doing with it.
Yes.
So with my book, there's constant challenges. Real simple to say, do this, try this. This book, if you do these challenges, it will radically change your life for the positive. So I'm so excited to share that with this world. It's play a bigger game. You feel like you should be playing a bigger game in life? I know you should be.
Yeah.
I know we could be.
Yes.
I know we all have it in us. I believe so much in people and their abilities. I just want to give them the tools to make it happen.
Well, and segueing a little bit into your faith, because we've talked about this. We're men of faith, and I'm curious. What are some of the things that you do to emphasize to your kids the value of stewardship of both you and your wife's success?
Oh, wow. This is such a great question because, we have something that is absolutely plaguing children these days. It's called entitlement. And unfortunately...
Not just kids.
Yeah, that's so true. I call these 30-year-olds kids as well because they're still living at home.
Those dang 30-year-olds.
So, I think it's so important that we are learning how to deal with this stuff. And that mentality that we all grew up with, which is, I'm not going to make my kids deal with this stuff. I'm going to make sure they never struggle with this. Oh, that doesn't work either. I mean, we've already now seen how bad that turns out. You can't protect them from this stuff. That makes things even worse.
Yes.
So one of the key things I'm doing is I'm teaching them how to add value to people's lives. It's not a question of like, get out there and get a job and how much are you going to make per hour? How much value are you going to add? If you speak in terms of value, it really changes the dynamic of what work looks like. Now, having God on your side and knowing that there's something bigger at play means the world doesn't have to rest on your shoulders. All that stress that could come on your shoulders, that's not for you. And to follow God's lead. If you listen, spend some time in quiet. We take them out to the woods all the time to go for walks. We do prayer. We take that time to listen and he really does guide us. I got to say, I have the most amazing children. And I don't say that as a brag. It's them. They are incredible. Yeah. And God has blessed us with these amazing kids. Will they always be? I don't know. I hope so.
Yeah.
But I'm not foolish enough to be like, oh, we've done like the perfect job. These are going to be perfect kids forever. Like, there's way too many variables, right?
Oh, yeah.
But they're turning out to be phenomenal leaders, and they're so disciplined. And kids need discipline. Oh, parents, that's the number one recommendation I can give you is discipline your kids. Now, don't anybody listen and be like, oh, you told me to hit my kid. No!
Yes.
That's not what we're talking about. Yeah. But they need boundaries.
Yes.
If you don't set up boundaries, I can't imagine our prison systems aren't going to be way more full when I'm older. Because these kids have no respect for authority, no understanding of boundaries. And one of the key things about learning that in the home, you go out into the world and you go, well, there's authority out here. Mm-hmm. Like, no, you can't just run that stop sign. No, you can't do this. No, you can't spit at the cop. Like, I don't know how we're not going to be overrun, but it also makes sense how we're going, well, let's get rid of the police then. They're challenging our children. But I don't want to get into politics, but there's some messed up stuff going on.
There is. Well, and it's funny, when you were saying about like, how there's the entitlements and, like raising kids or even people are soft. I thought you were going like, hey, we take our daughters into the woods and we have them figure out how to get home, right? We don't give them food. We don't give them water. We give them a blunt spoon and that is their weapon, right? Which, being an intense dude, I could see you doing that for like a half hour and then because your wife's Brooke, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then after a half hour, you guys are in the car saying, yeah, we're going to go help them. Like it's all done. So You've had all of these, and it's really recent, these huge changes in your life.
Yeah.
You grow the business at this point, what was it? It was basically 20 years, right? Give or take.
Just under, yeah.
Just under, right? If my math is helping me, thank God. Okay. If I screwed that one up. And so 20 years of growing your business, an amazing wife, amazing kids, but even though the business is gone and you could say, oh, yeah, that's just one part of my life. No, that was a big part of your life because you did spend a ton of time in it. Yeah, even if you were bringing in a CEO and an executive team so you could be part-time and really be the chairman from afar, if you will. What have been the most intense feelings you've felt over the last year of these massive changes?
What a beautiful question. There have been a lot of times where you feel you have too much time. That I know that sounds crazy. It's like, oh, I feel so bad for you, Marcus. Now, I'm telling you guys this because I think every entrepreneur has this dream of, oh, man, I'm going to have this exit, and then I could just play golf every day. I can do that, just so you know, is most men's version of hell. Yeah. But you don't know it yet. Yeah. You think it's heaven. Mm-hmm. You do that for 2 weeks, and you tell me that's not a version of hell. Yeah. It's crazy.
Well, tell our listeners then, because we spoke about this a little bit, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's valuable for them to hear. So you were done October last year.
Yes.
So how long did you give yourself time to do what you just said not to do?
So I forced myself. I mean, it was the first week, amazing, right? Wake up when I want to wake up, get my workouts in, get the cold plunge, sauna, just take my time. Want to go golfing today? Let's go golfing today. I've got a golf simulator in my house. I was golfing 2 rounds every single day. It was amazing. And then the second week came. And I started to go, man, I'd kind of like to be doing some work. And I went, no. This is a rare opportunity. I've got nothing on my plate.
Give yourself some time.
Give myself some time.
Yeah.
By week 3, I really now had to, I wasn't worried about now I got to go back to work, but I was like, now I got to stop focusing on myself. I have to start serving others. Yeah. And I really started to put myself out there to help other people in their businesses and just have some conversations. But man, within a month, I was getting real antsy. And I know that's not just Marcus. I don't know if most men will even make it a month. And I'm not saying I'm better than you but I think most men, they don't realize what happens when you let go of your business and you go, oh, wow, like, no, I'm not done. Like this idea of retirement, do you know how many men I see now, and women, but more men I'm focused on, that they retire and then they've got about 10 years of like, oh yeah, I'm golfing all the time. And then they just die because they're like, I'm not using my brain anymore.
Yeah.
This is like, I don't have drive to wake up and play golf every day.
Yes.
And I love golf.
Yeah.
So I love that I've been taught that lesson. So one of my favorite things to do is pour into others. My definition of success has changed so much. Selfish success is so empty. The idea of like, oh, how much money can I make?
Yeah.
What kind of cars can I buy and stuff? Dude, that fills you up for like 12 seconds.
Yeah.
But if I can help other people achieve their goals, help other people reach the levels of success that they dream of, oh, that lights me up.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
So that's where I devote my time now. And I love that. I love helping. I love seeing guys' eyes open up when I give them, what about trying this? And just ask them some questions. They're like, oh my goodness, yeah, that would totally work. And then they put it into practice. They actually take action on these things. And then they start, you're not going to believe what happened to my business. I'm like, I think I'm going to. Please share.
Yeah.
That stuff excites me so much. So my encouragement to guys who are like on their way exiting their company or thinking about it, know that if you can start pouring your wisdom into the next generation, oh my goodness, you will receive so much satisfaction.
Yes. No, I think that's fantastic. And I've got a couple rapid fire questions.
Yeah, let's
for
do
you,
it, brother.
Okay. Because I know, obviously your time is valuable, but we've reached the 2-minute warning, so to speak. So what were some of the most stressful times you had running the supplement business, and what did you learn from that experience?
It was always with money. Always. Brother, even the January of 2022, so I'm in the negotiations. That was the most stressful time in my whole life financially. Now, there was a whole bunch of others growing.
Yeah.
But what I recognized is if you think the financial struggles are going to disappear, I don't know if they ever do.
Yeah. No.
I literally don't know. Maybe I'm just not smart enough, but they just kept getting bigger.
Yeah.
And so you really have to figure out how to deal with that, how to relieve yourself of those stresses. And for me, it was turning to God. And I wasn't giving enough to him. I kept pulling it back on my own plate. He called me out of the boat and I was focusing on him so much, but then I kept looking at the waves of the world and I started to sink.
Yeah.
So I just had to keep giving it back to him and go, man, he's gotten me so far. I've been walking on water for so long. This is not the right time to look around.
Yeah.
This is not the right time to look to see if the boat will still have me back in. Just got to keep focusing on God.
Yeah.
And he will provide. And he did.
Yeah.
And it's so much more than just like, oh, I gave it to him and then he took all my worries away. No, he gave me peace for me to be able to handle the financial pressures.
Yeah.
And now, praise God, all the financial pressures are gone.
Yes.
But you know what? The other ones pop up still. Like they're just bigger.
Yeah.
So yeah, to me, it's fun. It's recognizing that these challenges are never going to end. And you know what? I'm very grateful for that too, because I think if there was too much money in the account and you have no worries on that, well, then you're not thinking about him. You're not trusting him with it because you're like, I can handle it from here, God.
Yeah. Yeah. Live off the interest and call it good.
That's right.
I get that. Well, if you could give one piece of advice for those looking to get into the business world of supplementation, what would it be? It could be business, it could be financial, it could be relationship. Just one piece.
Start moving. It's with anything. So one of my favorite things to teach people is I learn 90% of what I need to know on the path. So yes. I have to learn, do some research, be prepared. So I'm not saying just jump in the deep end without looking around, but do what you can, but don't get paralyzed by it. That's 10% of your grade.
Yeah.
90%, you just need to start moving. So when I've started many other businesses, I've helped so many other entrepreneurs start their businesses, move on their path. Just go, start moving. Even the first few steps, you're going to go, oh my goodness, I can't believe I learned this already. I got to pivot. Well, if you had wasted 3-6 more months you would have never seen that pivot coming. And then I learn again, and I learn, and I pivot and learn. So it's just start moving. And when you hear others say, especially on social media, you got to go all in with it. One, really check your sources.
Yeah.
Is that coming from someone who's actually successful or successful on social media?
Yeah.
Like that's a big difference right there.
Yes.
So the all in, do you know how rarely I went all in with my business? I went all in with my efforts.
Yes.
That's something.
Yeah.
But that idea of like betting all of my money on black and just going, I hope it comes up. Dude, that's nuts.
Yeah.
I would never recommend that to anybody.
Yeah.
So get that out of your mind. And so that's where it's just start moving. Yeah. You'll figure things out. And there will be lots of times where somebody comes along and goes, bet it all on red. I'm telling you, red's coming, red's coming. And it's like, I'm good. Here, I'll put a little bit of money on red, but only because I've done the research.
Yes. Well, and so this is one of my favorite questions to ask before we start closing it out here. If you could reverse engineer your life, what are some of the major things on your to-do list that you want to accomplish before you knock on the pearly gates?
Oh, that is so beautiful. Well, number one, I want to help more people achieve success. Like, I love it so much. Like, that's like my number one. I mean, of course, my family's my real number one.
Of course. Yeah.
I want to see my girls get married to amazing young Christian men and good leaders and raise amazing children. And I can't wait to be a very involved grandparent. But on the business side of things, just pushing people, encouraging people, lighting people up, lighting up people's minds to achieve more. That excites me. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, and what are the best pieces of advice? This is the last question before we wrap this thing up. What are the best pieces of advice you can give our fans listening in regarding capitalizing on their finances?
Here's my number one piece of advice to everybody. Surround yourself by big thinkers. Get yourself in more rooms. It's such a lost art. We don't do enough of it. The most successful people spend time with more successful people. Show up in rooms where you are the dumbest person in the room. I love doing that. Yeah. I love it. It opens up your mind. Imagine you're sitting there with Mark Cuban and you're like, Mark Cuban, I've got this idea that's going to make me $80,000 this year. You should be embarrassed. He won't make you embarrassed because he's a good guy that way.
Yeah.
But you should immediately go, wow, that's too small of a thought. Mm-hmm. That's too small of a thought. So if you're having that conversation with Mark Cuban, you got to go in there and go, what's my $1 million idea? It will open up your mind. Just spend some time with these guys. Spend some time in those rooms. And that is so available to you. There are so many masterminds. There's so many communities. There's so many events. Go to them. Invest in yourself. And yeah, a lot of them cost money. Good. You need to get yourself uncomfortable. You put that money out, and then all of a sudden you're like, I better freaking get something out of this. I better show up all the way. When it's break time, I'm not going to show up late after break time. I'm actually going to stay in the room during break time. I wonder if there's other people trying to network right now, other people I can ask questions of, learn from. Those are the people I love spending time with. When I'm one of the guest speakers in those situations, and I do that a lot, the guy who stays and is like, hey, do you mind if I ask you a few questions? I'm like, heck yes. Yeah. This is the go-getter. This is the next world leader. I would love to pour into you. And I know other leaders do the exact same thing. So put yourself in that room. Invest in yourself. Get a community. Get some big thinkers around you.
Yes. And with that, Markus, thank you so much for coming on the show. But before I close it out, as I always do, where can our capitalizers go to support and follow you?
Thank you. And first of all, I just want to say thanks for your time. Thanks for the friendship, man. You're an amazing dude. I love what you're doing. I know where you're going.
If
there's anything I can do to help you on your path, you know I'm going to do it.
Absolutely. Likewise.
So playabiggergame.com. Best place to find me. That's my community. It's my mastermind. You want to spend some time with me. You want to spend some time with some other big thinkers, help you think bigger, learn more, get ahead. Playabiggergame.com. Come find me. Have a free discovery call. Talk to either me or my brother or somebody who will challenge you right then and there, and then come and join us. Other than that, social media, Instagram, you can find me at Markus Kaulius. Super easy to spell, I know. And I just give these mindset tips, just little things to help you question, like, is there a different way to look at this?
Yeah.
And I love being able to support, help, and just be on that path with you.
Awesome. Markus, thank you so much. And to those of you that are tuning in, as always, thank you so much for listening in to Capitalize Your Finances. If you have any questions about today's episode, if you're watching going, wow, Markus was a pretty awesome guest, I think I could be a pretty good guest too. Could I come on as a guest? Head on over to capitalizepodcast.com. Shoot me, my team, an inquiry. And lastly, if you have a personal financial planning question that you want me to answer on the show or you just want to shoot us a question, head on over to Capitalize Podcast. I look at it every single day. I am a busy guy. I'm getting more busy as the days progress, so I try to get back to you within 48 business hours. As always, I'm your host, Christopher A. Paniotu, Certified Financial Planning Professional, the Cap and Capitalize. And until next time, keep capitalizing.
The information provided should not be considered specific tax, legal, or investment advice and is not specific to any individual's personal circumstances. Christopher Paniotu is a registered representative with and securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor and member FINRA SIPC. The investment professionals are affiliated with LPL Financial and are conducting business using the name Capitalize Your Finances, a separate entity from LPL Financial. Markus Kaulius and any other individual or company mentioned in this podcast are not affiliated with Capitalize Your Finances or LPL Financial.